So I want to talk about ways that we save money living on one income. Now, if you haven't followed me, you know that I've mentioned on here that I have a very part-time job. So I just want to put that out there just because if you're confused like why I'm saying this video. My husband is the breadwinner, so my part-time job is super part-time. It's basically like spending money. We use it for our life. We don't use it as spending money, but I just want to clearly err on that so that it's not confusing that I'm like, oh, we have one income, but then I do make a little bit of money. We really mainly have one income. Like mine, we could not live on mine at all. So just want to put that out there. I want to talk about some ways that we save money. I like these kinds of videos. Every once in a while, I will just watch a few of these because there's always an idea or two that the family is doing that I haven't thought of. So maybe that will be it for you in this video. So the first one is probably pretty obvious, but we do not pay for childcare. So I am home full-time, and even when I work, we don't pay for childcare. I do that during nap times or at nighttime. Sometimes I can get away with doing a little bit of it when they're awake and playing, but that's trickier. We don't pay for any childcare. I used to work in childcare. I did for 10 years on and off, and it is very expensive. So that is something that unless I went and got a job that was super high paying, it just doesn't make sense to me, because what it comes out as, unless you have a really high paying job, just isn't that much take home pay. So that is a way, first and foremost, that we save that I think people forget is it's such a huge savings to not be paying for childcare. So another thing that we don't do is we don't eat out a lot. Not that we never eat out, because we occasionally do, but we primarily eat at home. And this is something that I think takes time. When I started staying home, I did not really know a lot about cooking, other than a couple of basic things like boxed mac and cheese. I could make spaghetti. That's a proper meal, but that's probably about the only proper meal that I knew how to make. Otherwise, just like prepackaged stuff. So this is a tricky one because it does take some time if you don't have the skill, but as you learn and grow in the kitchen, it really does save a lot. I've been home now for 3.5 years, and the amount that I've learned in that time is crazy. So that's not really that much time if you think about it. When you're in it, it feels hard, and then that makes it feel like it's a lot, but that's really not that much time. But the thing is, when you learn to cook from scratch, you learn how to not waste, which is actually my next point. How to use things up so that what you are buying stretches further. And the more that you're in the kitchen, the more that you cook from scratch, you kind of learn like, oh, I have this, I can use this and this, and it's kind of like a puzzle, and all the pieces come together. I would say if you're just starting out and that feels overwhelming, just simplify. Just literally do different kind of meat, or even the same kind of meat. Maybe just alternate between chicken and ground beef. Do a protein, a veggie, and some kind of a carb. You can buy bread, you can just do rice, you can do pasta, like keep it really basic, and then as you kind of learn what to do with those things, you can branch out a little bit and it gets a lot easier. The next thing that we don't do is we do not have subscription services, and we do have a couple that we use like from a family member that just lets us use them. So it's not that we're completely without them, but I would go completely without them if we were in the position of having to pay for them. It's just not like a necessity to me, especially with YouTube. If you have a computer, you can look up almost anything. And if there's a movie you want to watch or something, you can rent it if you have, a couple extra bucks. We just don't pay for those things. They're just something that's coming out of your bank account all the time, and it adds up. On the flip side, something we do is when there are things we regularly use, like I take a magnesium supplement and I always want to have that on hand. So I will subscribe and save it. I even do that with like diapers. I'm trying to think what else I have it on. Toothpaste, dog food. I subscribe and save everything, because what you can do is go in and edit it if you don't need it. If you're still got plenty left and the budget's not great that month, you can change your like ship date. And I do that with other things too, like Thrive Market. I will just keep a running cart. I'll change the date to whenever it works, but I keep it on subscribe and save because you get money off. So that is something that we do. So it's kind of funny because I said we don't have subscription services, but then that kind of is, but it's a different kind. Now, another thing that I have recently started doing is buying in bulk. And this has been a game changer, although it has taken a long time to get there because you need the money up front, which is challenging. Just been doing it slowly as we're able and trying to kind of build a stocked pantry. And then it kind of snowballs from there, but it does take some time to get going. So we use Azure Standard. We also use Sam's Club. It's just when you're out at the stores and you start to pay attention to what things are costing and then you see what it is at the bulk price, it's such a better deal. So we do that as much as we can. I'd like to primarily do that except for super fresh things, but it's just not always in the budget. In time, I think that actually makes more sense, and if you can get to a point where you can do that, you're spending a lot less. Even though you're spending more at once, you're spending a lot less over time, which is better. And then for fun things to do, we do lots of free things. So contrary to the way our society functions, you don't really have to be busy all the time. You can just stay home a lot, but if you do feel the need to get out, which we all do from time to time, and some people are more extroverted, and that's fine, there are so many things. Go to the park, go to the library, go walk around a store if you can't find anything else. If your town is so boring that you have absolutely nothing, go walk around, some kind of store. Kids love to just look at stuff. There's a lot that you could do. We go for lots of walks around our neighborhood. That's like a free thing we can do. It's really good for your nervous system just to walk slowly around and look at God's creation around you, and good exercise. So there's lots of free things. You just have to get a little bit creative. There's no need to spend money on a bunch of activities. And the last thing I wanted to say, which is not something that we necessarily do or don't do, but something that I have learned over the past few years, is I realized that I used to be simultaneously cheap and also just such a consumer versus a creator. And I've realized that cheap is not the same thing as frugal. So there are things where quality matters, and I think food is one of them. I think a lot of people have a hard time, like when you're talking about Azure Standard or quality food. The thing is, if we feel good, we are then better able to do our duties and to have our brains thinking right, which helps us to make wise decisions. So there's obviously a component of trusting God in that too. I don't buy food perfectly. I don't even always buy organic. That doesn't even always matter. Sometimes I think organic is a bit of a scam at the grocery store, but locally sourced food is good. Azure's quality, that's not all super local, but like for other things that you would be getting at the store anyway, that's a good option. But it's kind of taken me some time to like rewire my brain around that, because I'm like, okay, this feels like a lot of money, but it's like, that's your health and that's then your life. Like, that's how you live your life. So cheap is not the same thing as frugal. So you can still be frugal, but you have to be able to be wise and to pause and to slow down, to be able to think through decisions, to be able to think, okay, I'm experiencing this thing and I need to know if it's actually a need or if it's a want, or if it is a need but it's not like a pressing need. You need to be able to think through that and process through that. And I think in our fast-paced culture, it's hard to do that. You kind of have to train yourself and get used to doing that. I did want to say that that's not really like something we do or don't do, I guess, but it's just a mindset shift of how that looks, because I do prioritize quality in that way, things that are going to affect our life, but not for food. Another one that I forgot to mention was that I thrift a lot. This is probably pretty obvious, but if you aren't used to thrifting, like I never was before, I used to just pop into thrift stores randomly and never find anything. It takes some getting used to, and you kind of learn, the best ones in your area, and you do have to go frequently. Sometimes even if you're not looking for anything specific, I find the best time to do that is when you're looking for home decor, because you might have, a certain thing in mind, but generally I'm just trying to kind of create a collected home, and so I will just look for home decor whenever I decide to go thrifting. But if there's something that I need specifically, I will often check the thrift stores first, depending what it is. But most things you can check the thrift store first. So that seems like an obvious one, but if you're not in the habit of doing it, it's great. It's also so much fun. So that's an added bonus. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video, and I'll see you in my next one.